Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 5th anniversary season of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe. If you're listening to this on any of our audio platforms, please give us the 5-star rating. Please subscribe and please download this episode and more episodes. I'm very excited today because we have an actor here. He is going to be playing Eddie Sebastian on Chaser, which can be seen on Prime Video. Well, please help me welcome Russ Russo to the podcast.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jake, for having me.
You're so welcome, Russ. Thank you so much for taking time on your schedule to talk to me today about the project. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Anytime.
All right. So, Russ, when did you get interested in performing, and how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
I think it was pretty early on. I was talking about this the other day with a schoolyard friend. Like, we were in a 5th grade program together, and we just collaborated on a project recently. But he had done 20 years of touring with bands and things, and he wanted to finally kind of delve into, the TV film world. So we decided to collaborate. But we were actually talking about, there was a program in 5th grade in which you had to pretend that dinosaurs were coming and that you were playing arcade games, and that that you were a chicken and a bomb was on its way, and what would you do? And I ended up not getting into the program, nor did he. Funny enough, fast forward 20 years later, and I'm doing it for a career, and he's been touring for 20 years in a band. So so it's incredible how the process of in which they chose who is gifted and who is talented for this 5th grade program. I don't know if they really understood that.
I definitely don't know either. That's very fascinating that a 5th grade program. Believe me, I decided after choir, I'm going to do 5th grade, and then I did high school. So, and theater 5th grade and 12th grade, because I had a feature aid in journalism, but I did not foresee podcasting.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, that's the way. I just I didn't understand it. I don't understand it. Most of the people that were in that program are bankers and accountants, so I don't know what exactly they were viewing as far as the chicken and the bomb. I remember the teacher asking me, if I was supposed to move or cluck during, when the bomb was coming upon the chicken coop, and everybody was clucking away and running around like chickens with their heads cut off, so to speak. And I just stood there, and the teacher marked me down and said, why did you why didn't you cluck and move and run? And I said, because I'm a chicken, I don't know what a bomb is. So led to an acting career for me to be able to ask those kind of questions. But yeah, you get a lot of bankers and accountants that made it into the program.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to talk to you about some of your previous work. And when I was preparing for our conversation, I found out that you worked with one of my previous guests on my podcast.
Oh wow, who is that?
Yeah, Mark. You shared a screen with a Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar friend Mark Pellegrino of NBC's Revolution.
I love Mark Pellegrino. Yeah, that was funny, man. Mark and I only met, making that scene was when we met. Literally, he's in the jackets, got the gun, he's twirling the gun. I walk on the set, and I'm like, I feel like I've seen this guy in Capote and Big Lebowski, and it was pretty intimidating because it wasn't supposed to be that scene. They rewrote the scene like an hour before, and pushed me into the trailer and said, hey, now learn this scene. And I was like, oh my God, and I had no idea I was working with Mark, and he recognized him right away. And we were just sort of thrust into that situation. But out of it came a friendship that's been, over a decade now. So yeah, I can text Mark right now, call him on the phone, and we've had a pretty good friendship ever since, being thrown into that scene.
All righty. And Mark, if you're listening or watching this, hello, my friend.
Yeah. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll catch it at some point.
So awesome. So you also worked with another great actor too, but however, this time that actor was Ryan Phillippe, but and also in his directorial debut in Catch Hell.
That's right. Ryan was making his directorial debut. I had self-taped for it, and then I found out that Ryan had chosen me. I flew down to Louisiana. Flew from LA at the time. I was living in LA at the time, to Louisiana to make that. I met Brian at like a hotel bar like the night before. We went over things, what the scene work was going to be, and he could not have been just more incredible. I consider him a friend. He's a very busy friend, but I consider him a really incredible guy, and I was happy for that opportunity, because I know when I was starting out in theater, in my early 20s, when I first began, one of the big movies that was in theaters at that time that I had just started was Studio 54. So Ryan was already leading, studio movies, and I had just done my first play. So to be able to come together and work with him, 15 short years later was pretty amazing, pretty surreal.
Absolutely. And speaking of Ryan Phillippe, and one of the things that I found in my brother's room while we were cleaning up, that he had that a poster of Ryan Phillippe when they were doing Black Hawk Down with that cat with Black Hawk Down. I'm like, wow, all those people in that film turned out really well.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And there's another actor that I worked with in that film that made a big impression on me, and that was Tom Sizemore. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. But he was a giant, like a heavyweight of great 90s film, and into the early 2000s, and I luckily got to work with him like 10 or 12 years ago, obviously before he passed and everything, and man, he made a big impression on me. What a process, what an instrument, just he could get to it so quickly. It taught me something 12 years ago. Believe me, being on that film, I was in school, because I saw what he could do with his instrument so quickly. It made me kind of recalibrate my own thing,
Absolutely. The best people always try to iron sharpens iron. There's so much, not just actors, but also with podcasters. I always listen to see what my colleagues are doing. Like, for example, my friends over at Challenge Mania and Rob Sesternino, they are the best when it comes to reality TV podcasting. And also like Bobby Bones and The View when it comes to entertainment and for stuff. So you got to listen in to all that you've got, because iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely. Constantly learning, constantly, teaching and being taught, and it's amazing how, now I have an acting school here in Monmouth County, New Jersey, in Red Bank, New Jersey. This is where, I grew up as a child. So I kind of came back to this area, and my students, they think that they're just exclusively learning from me, but they don't realize how much I'm learning from them. There's a lot of reciprocal work that goes into this.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm about ready to ask you that question. So why did you decide to open up acting classes to your community?
So after that 5th grade debacle, I kind of didn't let up. I became a 10th grader, and it was kind of still itching at me, like that I wanted to do this. And finally, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a TV show I was watching at the time. I can't remember what had happened, but I finally said to my mother, I was like, I gotta go, learn somewhere. I want to learn this craft. I want to, how do I do that? And she immediately, I hate dating myself like this. She's opened up the white pages, the yellow pages, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so she found what was, the place around Monmouth County, New Jersey. And it was supposed to be this big agency that had a school attached to it. And it was a scam, man. It was a scam. They wanted right. They wanted thousands of dollars from my mother, and they weren't gonna do anything for me. And I didn't learn that until I got out of 12th grade and, into New York City and began doing theater that 3 or 4 short years later. But it was like, wow, man, wow. So when I got the opportunity after like 20 years in the business, 10 years in New York, 10 years in LA, to come back and start a family here, I was like, I'm also starting a place where people can learn the craft of acting, be referred to agents and managers, and have this as a career if they want it, because my 15-year-old self wasn't allowed that, and I had to wait till I was 20 or 21 to sort of like kind of go out on my own and start from square one, instead of being a teenager or even a 10-year-old when I asked to do this and learning then. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, and like it's very amazing that you have community members do all of this. And so, what do you look for in your students who want to seriously pursue your classes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking for someone to come in with a lot of curiosity and a lot of passion, and really give it their all. We have students that range from 9 years old to 75 years old. So quite often they're not in the same classes. There's kids classes, there's teens classes, but recently I had a father say, "Listen, I've got baseball practices on the weekends. My 13-year-old can't be in class, so I've actually put that kid into an adult class with 20 and 30-year-old actors, because maybe he can get something out of it, just having scenes within that structure." So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for people to be, as hungry as I was at that age for, to be a part of this community.
And not to mention, it gives like for that 13-year-old, it gives them the chance like to rehearse for, like, let's just say he gets into a off Broadway play, or
Sure.
even if even something from Los Angeles, they say, "Hey, wait a minute, we want you on a soap opera." Like
Yeah.
that gives him having that experience. I think will help them
Yeah.
bring like working with the 20, 30-year-olds to like get into the business.
Yeah, it's already happened too, Jake. I don't know if you know this, but several of my students have already been on TV, have already been in films, and one of my 11-year-old students just got a role opposite Mark Ruffalo in HBO's Task. So
Oh
that
wow.
he's been studying with me for 11 months. 11 months at 11 years old, and he's already on HBO's Task.
And to go toe to toe with an Academy Award nominee.
Yes, that was really what pleased me. I'm like, man, I'm not even on that show. So thank you for taking what lessons I'm teaching you in an 11-year-old body and just putting it out there into the universe, because he's doing some great things with it, with the techniques and the methods and the processes.
That's amazing. Russ, we got to get back to talking about what our main purpose of our conversation is.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Chaser. So, what attracted you to the show, and what attracted you to the role of Eddie Sebastian?
Well, I was told by Phil Hall about a decade ago. Phil was a contributing writer for Film Threat for a number of years, and he was just a friend of mine that we had done a bunch of movies back in the early 2000s with one another. And he said, you're attracted to outsider characters. I don't know if you know this about yourself. And I started to go over the roles that I've had in my life, and I was like, wow, yeah, almost everyone was, somebody on the outside sort of looking in. And Eddie Sebastian, he had that quality of really being far on the outside looking in, and I wanted to be able to sort of take that and make an arc out of it, and see what would happen when an outsider became an insider, and is it worth it to become an insider? And so that was sort of the journey of Eddie Sebastian. That's what drew me to it.
That's amazing, and it's amazing. So, like, well, like I've been like with your roles, like you've been saying, like, have you noticed you said outsider, outsider, outsider? Were you nervous that you're being typecasted as an outsider?
It was just an epiphany, once he said that, I was like, oh my God, he's right. These are sort of outlier characters. They're they're never on the inner circle. They're never on the inside of the game. They're, so it wasn't a problem. I've since pursued a couple people that were on the inside, and I actually didn't like the inside so much. I got to tell you, I didn't like the inside so much. I didn't like what happened to me. What happened inside my thought process and inside my being when I was finally on the inside playing a character recently.
It definitely feels like, for example, if you like feeling left out, now you're being welcomed in, you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
is this all like, is like that you finally picture, it's like you feel golden inside, you're supposed to hear all these things, and then all of a sudden you basically feel like, okay, I'm inside, but this is not what it's all cracked up to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was it? Jim Carrey was saying something to the effect of, "Be careful what you wish for. If you end up getting all your dreams, you'll probably find out what it really is." You know, um, and and since playing a character like that who just had everything or seemingly everything on paper, I came to find out that it's not all it's cracked up to be. So yeah.
And also, I got to talk about like how does Chaser stand out against other shows that you participated or other films?
Sure. Well, Chaser, I had never really been a part of something like, um, the movies like Donnie Darko and Back to the Future. Those were like great films for me. So to have those kind of sort of feelings, like, that Ferris Bueller, Back to the Future meets Donnie Darko sort of feeling infused into the TV series, and into the characters, and some of the scene work was really interesting because you have a guy who can re-edit his life for 24 hours, and what would that look like? And having that kind of power, you know what would you do with it? That those were interesting questions to ask, and sort of play out, throughout the filming of the series. Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's like your character experiences like both the butterfly effect and the monkey's paw at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So we got to start winding down our conversation. So one of the questions that I would love to ask you is like, because you've been in the industry for so long, what have been some of the challenges that you face staying in the entertainment industry, and how have you overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, that's tough. There was a time about 5 years ago where I was like in between managers, and I had just moved back to Monmouth County, New Jersey, which is like my childhood home. So it was like, sort of these ghosts came sort of haunting me. And I felt, again, this feeling of, I felt like way on the outside. I was no longer in Hollywood. I wasn't in LA anymore. I wasn't in the middle of New York City, doing my craft, on off Broadway stages or anything like that, or, making, films on the studio lots in New York or anything like that. So there was definitely a time where I was like, wow, man, this is really, really challenging. And luckily just life kicked in, and my wife got pregnant, and then all of a sudden it was like, zoom, Chaser happened, my daughters are here, and um things just started to happen. I got a manager, and a new agency, and everything started to kick right back in. But it's tough. Sometimes you do have to wait out some of those very hurtful lulls, we'll call them, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of lulls in the industry. It's like basically you're creating something from nothing with your, especially with acting, and not only that, and there's a lot of competition in our media landscape between not just actors and producers, but also like and writers, but also podcast hosts versus the T main with it, which is the TV versus all the streaming platforms.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you just try to hope. And I remember feeling like such an outsider when this all happened. And you just try to hope that, like, you've built enough relationships that you can latch onto something soon. And sure enough, after 6 to 8 to 10 months, one of those relationships came through, and then I was off doing something. And, but it's tough, man. Sometimes when you're sitting for almost an entire year, it's like, am I really even in this industry? So I just hope that people recognize that even if you have a 20-year career, you're gonna go up against these years that are just like dark. And yeah,
Oh
kind of.
yeah, I definitely had that experience because the thing is, I'd rather be a long time. Like two of my heroes in the media industry are like Barbara Walters and Regis Philbin, both who passed, but both of them have a legacy that reaches over 50 years. I'd rather be someone that has a lengthy career, than someone that's like a TikTok personality that could be at 1 minute and next we don't hear about them until people says, where are they now?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And I always tell my students, audition for your career, not the job. So that sort of plays into that as well. You want a lengthy career. You don't want to just have this job for the moment, because you never know. That job could be fleeting, and it could also just kind of put you way away from, where your goals are to have an overall career. Yeah.
And like, look at some of my favorite actors, like Ian McDermott. He didn't know that playing the Emperor on Return of the Jedi would last a career that lasts almost 40 years.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think like an actor like that would even have known that at the time too. And I've got that. I don't know if you can see that in the background. I got Star Wars 77 right there.
Oh, wow. Amazing. It's amazing. I actually got to meet the Emperor when he was at Planet Comic Kansas City. And it's on my Instagram if you want to take about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of Instagram, what have been some of your favorite social media platforms that you use to not only showcase what you do, but also connect with your fans?
Yeah. So I'm an actor, Russ Russo, on IG and TikTok. That's where I'm at. I'm on Facebook, but it's more of a dying animal, But yeah, those are the two main ones.
All right. Last question. Are you ready?
Yes. Go for it.
Okay. So we just heard your social media, but where can they find out more about your acting classes? And also, where can they find you on Chaser?
Sure. Yeah. So mcactorstudio.com, monmouthcountyacting.com. That is the studio. And then Chaser is Zero Gravity Media on IG. I believe that they're going to have, if you just follow actor Russ Russo, I'll get all the on IG. I'll get you all the links for Chaser.
Awesome. So guys, have you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast? Visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Podchaser, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And you want to watch my interview with Mark Pellegrino or listen to it? Head to jakes-take.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. Russ, thank you so much for taking time on your schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, everybody, good.